Hey, what's up everybody? What's going on? Remi Sovran here, back with another video today. And in today's new video, what I wanted to share with you guys is a few of my favorite exercises that I like to incorporate into my personal workouts, but also into the workouts that I design for some of my clients, specifically for those with lower back issues or lower back pain. So these exercises that I'm going to share with you guys are exercises that are essentially good exercises for sparing the lower back, but are also great for developing muscular strength, hypertrophy, or muscular endurance. And so how I'll do this video is I'll list a few of my favorite exercises, and then I'll kind of give a brief description of them. And then I'll do an article or a blog post to go along with this video to give you guys a visualization of what the exercises look like and how they are performed. But at the same time, you guys can just do a YouTube search or a Google search of the exercise and see how it's performed as well. So the first exercise that I absolutely love is the seal row. So the seal row normally involves an individual using a kind of weightlifting bench or kind of a bench that you may see in the gym where you may be performing a dumbbell kind of press on or maybe a dumbbell row on. So anyways, you take the bench and then essentially it would be elevated with some platforms underneath, and then you would place maybe a barbell underneath or dumbbells depending on what you're going to use. The individual will then lie flat on the bench on their stomach, so lying in the prone position. And then normally what I personally like to do is place maybe a few mats or some sort of support underneath the hips to allow them to pop up a little bit. So that would prevent the individual from falling into a lower back extension. And that may also help spare the back a little bit if someone maybe has extension-based back pain, or we can maybe prevent any kind of extension-based issues from occurring when doing that exercise. Then the idea is the individual will grab the dumbbells or barbell that is placed below the bench, and then they will essentially just perform a row. So it's a great way to kind of develop that horizontal pulling pattern and to also kind of work the upper back and the posterior side of the shoulder. And at the same time, you're sparing the back because you're laying flat on your stomach. So it's a great exercise. It's phenomenal. It's a great alternative to the traditional seated row or bent over row, because in those exercises, there's a lot more stress placed on the lower back, because in the seated row, you are sitting and there's that tendency to maybe flex your spine when you're pulling the weight back. But at the same time, even in a bent over row, if you're getting high up in weight or if you're going pretty heavy, a lot of people will tend to maybe lose form and their back will round and they'll get that flexion occurring, which is how disc herniations essentially occur. So great alternative. One of my favorite exercises for developing kind of the upper back and that horizontal pulling motion is the seal row. Secondly, guys, another one of my favorite exercises is just the barbell glute bridge or the hip thrust. Those two exercises I absolutely love. Very similar. Now, I typically will start someone off with a barbell glute bridge, and then as things kind of move forward, we may progress to a hip thrust as the individual gets accustomed to doing a glute bridge first, and then we can move into the hip thrust. Now, reason I love this exercise, great for developing the posterior chain, specifically the glutes, but also the hamstrings as well. And the reason being is because the individual is not in a jeopardized position where they're going to be susceptible to maybe rounding their back or really kind of stressing their back, because they're essentially laying down, or they kind of have that where they have that neutral position or kind of straight line. And so that way we can kind of load the individual up in a position where it's spine friendly per se, and we can develop the glutes, hamstrings for that individual, and as opposed to maybe when compared to a deadlift where we can be putting an individual at a significant risk of injury if they are not accustomed to deadlifting and they're not used to it. So great kind of alternative exercise specifically for someone maybe lower back issues or looking to kind of progress back to things is the barbell glute bridge. Phenomenal exercise, one of my favorites as well. Thirdly is any sort of kind of TRX row or maybe a TRX push-up or like TRX ab rollouts. Any type of kind of use with the suspension straps I absolutely love. Reason being is, like I said, kind of with the seal row, when doing a TRX row, you're still kind of sparing the back. You're not really jeopardizing yourself in any way, and it's a great way to still kind of develop that posterior chain, the posterior side of things, without kind of maybe bending over or being in a seated position. And even with a push-up per se, you know, we're in a position where we're normal, or we're in a neutral position we're not really getting into a position where we're rounding our back and we're still kind of developing our upper body strength without kind of jeopardizing yourself, and we're still sparing the lower back. So the TRX straps or any sort of suspension straps, absolutely love, specifically for TRX rows, maybe push-ups, or maybe some ab rollouts, or any sort of kind of core work with regards to those straps. Then also just a few other kind of notable exercises. Any sort of standing cable press or standing cable row, absolutely love as well. Reason being, just because we're in a standing position, so we're not in a position where we're bent over or we're seated, so there's lower stress on the lower back to begin with. But at the same time, if we're doing single arm stuff, a great way to kind of develop some rotary stability as well, while still developing kind of some upper body strength for an individual. So those are kind of a few exercises, guys, that I can just think of off the top of my head right now. I may be missing one or two that I absolutely love, but those are just kind of a few that come to my mind right now that I wanted to share with you guys. And I'll post in a blog post or an article some photos of these exercises just to give you guys a gist of what I'm talking about. And hopefully, if you guys maybe found this helpful, or if you guys are performing some of these exercises and you've noticed a lot of benefits from them, and specifically are someone with lower back pain or have had a history of lower back pain, and you really found these types of exercises helpful, I'd kind of love to hear about that and love to hear about your story. Maybe there's some other sort of exercises that you guys really enjoy doing and you find them helpful as well for maybe developing upper body strength, lower body strength, maybe muscular endurance or hypertrophy or whatever the case may be. So ultimately, guys, the key takeaway though is if you're someone with a history of lower back pain or you currently have lower back pain, you're going to have to make the necessary adjustments that are going to allow you to exercise, if that is your goal, to exercise in a spine-sparing way where it's kind of sparing the lower back. And so the exercises that I kind of just listed, you'll notice that they're either in a laying down position, whether that's supine or prone, or in a standing position. And the key thing with that is that those positions are more spine friendly, there's less stress on the lower back as compared to maybe a seated position or a bent over position, which you commonly see with a lot of exercises out there. So I just wanted to share this with you guys. If you guys enjoyed this, give us a thumbs up. And if you have any other maybe comments, questions, feel free to leave them below. And then until next time, guys, I wish you guys all the best and a successful and productive day, and take care.